This is a video of what not to do. Now, the Spoos have moved up off of the low of the morning, and we saw good reason to take a long trade, but yet that would be a counter trend trade at the moment because technically we're still short. And if you're looking for another opportunity to short, this might ordinarily be viewed as a place to take that short. Now, the reason you might be inclined to do that, number one, you're into a contrarian here. Okay, here's your contrarian. This says we're at a high. Look at the Dow. At that particular moment, okay, the Dow was also overbought. You've also got a contrarian there. However, you have a caveat. Now, if you've been watching the threshold level of the premium, our threshold we set at negative 1.15. We're at negative 1.05. We're much higher than that threshold level. We should be at or below it at this moment. So this high, although it looks like it's overbought, it really is not. And for several reasons. Look at where the Dow was. The Dow at that particular moment was below its lower value area. We usually want the Dow to be running right into it. But there's some other dynamics that are happening here that suggest maybe that's not such a good idea. All right, so we would say don't short it yet. Wait till at least the Dow gets into the lower value area. So as this occurs, just move forward a little bit. Right in here, we're once again right back to one. Well, we're at 1. We gotta wait till it's at 1.25, and that doesn't happen until right here. Now, you got to be very careful here. At that particular moment, the Dow hits the Spoos hit 1.25. The premium is below the upper value area. However, look at what's happening with the indicator here in the subgraph, right in here. We're still in on an incline. The slope of this is still up. And when you want to take that trade, you want to see evidence that everything is turning. And as you're right in here, look at your graph here on the Dow. Okay, the same technical indicator has a positive slope. So right there and then is not such a good time. And once you let this tick up just a bit more to 1.75, where is the premium? Okay, the premium was still above the upper threshold, not quite as high, negative 1.08, but still above. So if you look at where the ticky is, the ticky has hit an 18 at that time. That's not enough for this to short. Ticky will usually drop to 10 or below when this thing is ready to short. Ticky says it's still going up. Now, where exactly is the Dow at that moment? The Dow is at 17,108. Let's go back to our composite. 17,108. I'm just going to grab this. 17,108 is right in here. Okay, it's right in there. Do you see any area on the chart here that suggests we've hit resistance? Not really. No, that hasn't happened yet. That's not going to happen until you hit at least one. Let's get it up here. About 109.5, maybe 110. More particularly at 113. Okay. This line here. And then once that occurs at about 119, but you're so close, you are really, really so close to the upper threshold at 17,122. That might even be more likely, but it's definitely not at 108. So really, in our estimation, you need to wait until it's closer to 114, or maybe up there at, let's drop this below so you can see this, that area there at 119. You can't quite see it. Let's just switch the justification. Okay, so at 119, right in this area here, 119. So you got to give it a little bit more time, and then as it gets close to that number, you're going to look for some further clarification. So we're not shorting it. Okay, this is not a good time to short. So let the Dow go up even higher. So as it does, we're starting to climb. We're up at 117, 118. Once again, now it's clear we're overbought. And at that particular moment that we're overbought, look at our graph. You'll notice that this is beginning to lose some steam. And where are we at on the Spoos? We're at 02.75. Where is the premium? The premium is now dropped below the upper threshold level. We're very close to that other threshold that we talked about, close to 119. You're very close, at least. And there's nothing going on with the premium at this point. Okay, so now you're in a better position to grab a hold of this. The slope of your indicators is now down. You might not be high enough, but you're close. So now a short makes better sense. Not at 1.25, but at 2.5. Now, was there anything to tell you that other than what we've just discussed? One other thing that you might have looked at was the composite on the ES. Okay, notice where we were at. 2.5 to 2.75. If you look at the composite, that number sticks out like a sore thumb. Let's bring up the composite here. Now we have two composites running. One is based on the overnight market, and one is based on the ES.D. I'm going to look at the overnight market. Okay, I've got a line there at 2.5. I'm not showing that line over here. But let's just go and take a look at it, and you'll see what I mean. Okay, where's your all right, so let's take this line. So there's a little area. Expand this so you can see it better. All right. So right there at 2.5. Right in there. Got a little bit of a shelf there, not much. Right in here. And if you look at the overnight market, or pardon me, the ES.D, let's line this up on the ES.D. Yeah. It's a little, it's a, wouldn't say that it's particularly clear, but there is a little bit more volume here at 2.5. So based on the composite, that doesn't look too awful bad. A little higher would be better, in my estimation, but that doesn't look bad. So let's get back to where we were. All right, so we were right in here at 2.5, 275, and everything seems to be dropping off. So yeah, taking a scalp in here, 2.5, waiting for it to drop back down to 2075 or 2001 for a 6-tick profit. Makes sense. But also notice here, you've dropped right below that lower value area on the Dow. Came back up a little bit, now we're coming back down. I'd say take a profit there at 2001 on that scalp. Okay, coming right down into the lower value area on the Dow. And you are not oversold just yet. I think we can give that a little bit more room to test that. Now, if you're watching your indicators here, you notice that as you came down to 1.25, you were oversold. You were oversold at that level. Now the ticky dropped. Let's get it in here. Come on. To -20. So the Dow should drop a little bit more. And it doesn't drop much. Okay. 06. And now the ticky is running back up. So we got that little bump up here. It tested it again right in here. The ticky hits at 24. It's liable to come back up Now I would have to say, yeah, we've got to be very cautious about holding this. It may not make it all the way to 2001. That would be my guess based on where the threshold is. But the Dow is working against us. We were oversold right in here on the Dow. Pardon me, overbought. We'll get that right one of these days. So now this little drop in here is taking place. You may want to just pull that trade at 1.5. Looks like we're not going to get much out of this because I don't see it dropping. Not right now. It's too easy for this thing to go right back up because the upper threshold on the composite on the Dow. Well, here we are. Okay, take it and run. I don't think it's going to drop much. Not going to drop much more. So I think that would be the extent of that trade. We'll give it a little bit more time just to see if that pans out, but it doesn't look like it's going to drop right into the lower threshold because the Dow's already there and it's flirting with rallying back up. So I'd get out of this trade. Alright, the Spoos did drop all the way to 2001. We said get out of the short. And now I'd say we can anticipate this market going back up. And the Dow at least testing the upper threshold area, which is at 17,122. $17,122 is just below the point of control as shown on the 5-second chart. So we want to go long in here. And at 1.5, it came down to, I'd say if we can get a fill in at 1.25 to 2001, that would be a good time. But we just went oversold on the Dow over here. And when we look at the ticky there, the ticky at that particular time was at a negative 18. That's what those colors are. This is a negative 22. Red is a negative 22. Now you can go into our indicator to see how we've set this up. No, actually we don't have the indicator here. Let's get the indicator up here. There we have it. So magenta is a negative 18, dark magenta negative 20, red is negative 22, and so on down the line. So when we dropped here to to a negative 22, that was a pretty good indication that this was going to drop, which it did. It came down to a negative 18. And normally we would expect the Dow to be bouncing off of something that's below, or pardon me, above the a negative 10. And yet we are climbing, so I would say if we're waiting for an entry, wait for the Dow to come back down. Now we just saw a shift. That's a kind of an interesting shift. The lower volume area just dropped. And that's kind of, that's a bit disconcerting. That's a bit disconcerting. Let's just sit tight. So you see where we were at. That was down at about 109. And the ticky dropped into a negative 18. That's usually not where this thing is going to ricochet off of. And now we've dropped even lower. Negative 22 again. Even lower than that. Negative 24. So this is coming down. We're right back to where we were before. And see what just happened. Just as it happened with the Dow, it just happened with the Spoos. The lower value area, which had been increasing, has now just dropped to 1998. The Dow had dropped moments before. And now the question remains whether or not we're going to drop even further before there's any kind of a rally. You got to be very cautious about going long in here. I would expect that my normal expectation was that the Dow point of control there at 17,125 would be a nice target for a long trade. But now after this has happened, that is kind of that really changes the complexion of this situation. The point of control has now dropped to 1.75. And you can see that there. So going long in here is a bit risky. One and a half. Spoos dropped to 1.5. Look at where the premium was. It was below the lower threshold area. Gonna need to wait. Let this thing come back to negative 1.5. Pardon me, to 1.5. See where the Dow is at that point. If the Dow is much lower than 109, you're faced with the same situation that we were faced with when looking to go short. Right, the Dow at 1.09 is right in here. And if it drops much below that, particularly if it were to drop below about 107, 107.5 right in there. Boy, that thing could easily drop right to that 95 level, which is where the profile just shifted to. Yeah, that was a little higher just a minute ago, but it's now down at, or no, the lower value area is at 94. Yeah, that's entirely possible. So this, you've got to be really, really careful in here. This is now looking like we're in a short, not a good time to be going long. This is too iffy. So this video was on what not to do. Now thinking about going long is really, really got to be very, very careful about going long. What's the overall picture here? Let's just bring up that chart. We're still in a short. Yeah, we're still in a short. Let's bring this chart over. Okay, look at why we're still in a short. The primary indicator here is short, and over here we were moving into the upper value area at 2.75, and our indicators were short at that moment. So yeah, your better play is not to go long. Your better play is to short this. Short it off of 2.5 to 2.75. Yeah. Yeah, in fact, I would even dare say that trying to short it right at 2.25, if you can get it, is probably going to work, because now look at what's just happened to the point of control. The point of control is dropped. We're in a short. We're definitely in a short here. This is not the time to think about going long. There's not much volume going on here. Not much at all. But that's when you don't have a lot of volume, when things can move very quickly. So looking at a short, right? I would even short it now and average in if it goes up much more. Short this thing right now. Short, short, short. Short. Go short. You're overbought on the Dow right now. So shorting this thing. Never made it up to the upper threshold area of the premium. That's oftentimes, when it moves up a little bit closer, is oftentimes a really good time to short. But sometimes it won't make it that far. And look at your indicators here. You might get one more tick. Yep, there it is. shorted. Short this baby. Yeah, we're right here on the Dow. It doesn't look like it's going much higher. So yeah. This is the place to short. And there you see it. I fully expect this to drop below 2,000. We'll come back. Now, while we were calling a short right in here, notice what happened on the ticky. The ticky hit an 18, okay? And look at where it was. It's at about 115 at that point. And that's kind of it's a little bit of a heads up, because we should be hitting a high where the ticky at that point is dropping at or below 10. Now, that happened right in here. It just went a little higher. So that wasn't such a bad move. But the ticky continued to move up into a new high, or pardon me, the Dow was at a new high. The ticky, on the other hand, when we hit 2003, okay, now the ticky is back to below 10 and momentarily went to a 12 here. Pardon me, 14. And then dropped below 10 again. And we're at 103 at that point. And the Dow looks like it's beginning to drop now. So whether you were in there at 2002.75 or you managed to squeak out another tick off of this, that's about all she wrote. But you could see this was a bit of a warning signal. When we hit an 18 here, there was a bit of a warning signal that the Dow may continue to be going up. And when that happens, yeah, it's likely going to move the Spoos up just a bit. So right in here, the Dow hits an overbought condition, and now we failed to hit a new high over here. Spoos are still at 2003, but now we're coming back down. That makes sense. And we'll come back. Now, if this short is going to work, what do we need to see happen on the ticky as well as the premium? Let's address the premium first of all. Premium has to stop, or has to start dropping below negative 2.01. That needs to take place. It just happened here briefly. It hit negative 2.07. The ticky, on the other hand, needs to be dropping into negative 14, negative 18, negative 20, negative 22. If this is going to drop and we're going to start going back down toward the low of the day, that's what needs to happen here. And we need to drop below 17,110, the current point of control. Got to drop below that. But expect, depending on what happens when we come into 17,110, watch the ticky very carefully. If we're not much below, and we just hit negative 16, you know, if we're not below, if we're not at a negative 18 or a negative 20 when we come into that level at 17,110, this is liable to bounce and come right back up. We got a little bit of a heads up right here. Okay, that was good. Ooh, that's not good. That was a 26. Yeah. A 26 on the ticky, often a negative or a positive 26 often means that whatever is happening is perhaps pretty well over. I don't like 26s. And we hit a 26 right as we were dropping into 110. So that oftentimes means that we are gonna get a bounce. And that this isn't going to drop much lower, at least not right now. But let's see what happens, because if we get to maybe a 108, 107, maybe this will continue down. But I don't like a 26, or either a positive or a negative 26. I don't like it. I see it too often bounce right off of that. Okay, Spoos should drop to 1.5. Should get a little bit more out of this. So reevaluate once we hit 1.5. Look at where the Dow is. It's going to happen. There it is. All right, this is going to continue down. Whew, that 26 was scary. Much better. All right, we should continue to see this drop. Premium's got to drop below negative 2.01. And it did not do that. Dow, on the other hand, the ticky, dropped. It's been negative 18. And notice where we were when that happened. And it came down a little bit more, and the ticky was not below 10. So we got a little bit of support right in there. Now look at the composite. At 1005. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. This should continue to drop. Okay. Now, if you wanted to take a look at more recent volume profile. And going back to about the 22nd of August, it is a little bit more current. But if you take it all the way back to the 26th, all right, let's take a look at the 26th. Let's look at that profile from the 26th of August. All we have to do is just change the date here. And there you have it. Well, I don't like what I see here. There's something wrong with this profile. Get rid of that. Let's take that back to the 22nd. Yeah. Profile's got a big gap in here, and I don't think that's accurate. So I'm going to take it back to the 22nd. There we go. All right. So I think that is a fair representation of the most current volume. And you see, there's nothing once we've dropped below 107. There's really nothing to suggest that we're going to find some support. We got to drop below, all the way back down to 17,091. There's your current point of control. And when you look back here, right, this shows it at 17,095. There, 17,091. So yeah, there's nothing to hold this or to cause this thing to find support. So yes, this should continue to drop, and we've got a further drop on the point of control of the ES. It's a slow death today. It's just market has just really moved slowly. I don't like days like this. It's too slow. But that's where this should go. That is where this should go. All right, if we follow the Dow, see the Dow dropping here. We were overbought right in here, as indicated by our indicator here. Dow's dropping, Spoos are dropping. That's what we would expect. Ooh, nice drop. Nice drop in the ticky. And premium drop below the negative 2.01 level. Beautiful. Now, let's see the Dow drop below 17,100 and come right down to 17,094. Thank you very much. Another nice drop. the chart. Let's get it back. Came right into 94 just as we expected. Now, if you wanted to take some profits as you drop here one more time, because this is going to continue down. Right? See where the premium was? Way below. And you hit 99.75, you're getting a bounce. Why? Well, you're getting a bounce off of that support level on the Dow. But the premium is not lying, it's coming back. So if you weren't able to take profits there, be patient, it's coming back. Okay. So where do we expect this to stop? Point of control on the Dow was 91. That's very, very probable. Where's the ES? Okay, let's go back. Let's look at the big picture. Okay. Yeah, 98. Your highest area volume is right there at 98.75. So we would expect that to drop below into 98 or below. But you got to watch where is the Dow when that happens. When we drop below to about 98. All right. If we hit 91 on the Dow, regardless of where we are on the Spoos, okay, that may be, that could very well be, as far down this goes this afternoon. The low of the day was at 97.25, and normally we should hit below 97.25 in the afternoon. However, you got to watch that on the watch what happens when we hit 91, because today we rallied up all the way to the high at the open. We've dropped to a low for the day at 17.080, right here. That was the low of the morning. We should hit a lower low this afternoon, or at least back to that level. But when it comes into 17.091, that point of control, it's going to bounce. It's not going to like that. Or it is going to like that, I should say. And for that reason, when it does, we could get a reasonably sized bounce. But if it breaks right through that, then yes, she'll continue on down. We just have to wait and see what happens. So 91 is the point of control. You don't see it on this chart. Let's put a let's put a line in at 17.091, so you know where that is. All right, let's come back just a little bit later. We'll revisit this. Now we mentioned the bounce there off of the lower value area. That bounce has materialized into something a little bit larger than we expected, but in any event, we should see this beginning to come back down right now as we speak. So Spoos came back up to 2002. Okay, that's a fairly big retracement for the amount of movement we've had today, but I don't see it likely going any higher. So we'll observe as she hopefully will continue to drop. Okay, so right back to 74 again on the Dow, and I think now is really the critical point where we might expect to see this drop right into the point of control. We look at where the premium has been. The premium is below our threshold level. We expect this to drop. What else do we see here? And that little uptick in the ticky didn't help any. And we've got the lows of the ticky are not going lower just yet. We look over here at our indicators. As we came into this low, our primary divergence indicator is hitting higher lows, and that's a little bit of a problem. So we really need to see both the ticky and the premium drop here. Now we've gone into 93.5, 93.28. There we go. All right, down she comes. 91. Let's see what happens. So for that point of control, it's right at 91 even. Not that that is so specific that that number will be hit precisely, but that's where the point of control is nevertheless. $91, $90, $96, we've dropped below. 87. Ah, down she goes, down she goes. Okay, both the premium and the ticky pretty well confirming that we will continue to drop. And remembering once again that the low for the day, all right, is down at 97.25. So we're going to wrap up this video. Okay, we're just going to wrap up the video now, only because we've got some other pressing matters we need to attend to. But I think you got the idea. We saw 91 there. We put that line right in at 91 because of the potential for a bounce right at that particular time. And you saw that's in fact what it did. Now, don't get me wrong, we're not suggesting this is the low, because look at where we were. Look at the premium. It's below that threshold area. negative 2.01, and we're at negative 2.21. So yeah, that's going to come back down and in all probability drop below that because your lower threshold area is 99. So yeah, that's going to drop. But the bounce could have been anticipated just because of what you saw over here. Okay, that was your point of control. So you got to be aware of those things as you're moving through the course of the day. These types of areas of support and resistance can be very meaningful when it comes to the reasons behind the movements in the Spoos. But hopefully this has given you a little stronger viewpoint of what we do here at Risk and how we can anticipate what the market is going to do depending on when certain things take place. So that having been said, we still expect a lower low for the day, low exceeding that of the low of the morning, which for the Dow was right at the open. I'm not so sure we're going to get there, but in any event, we should see a lower low for the Spoos coming up within the next hour. I would anticipate will drop below 99. So we're short at the moment, and we'll end this video on that particular note. Another 26 on, is it 26 or is that 24? I think that was a 26 on the ticky. I don't like 26s. I told you that before. And we often see the Dow bounce off of a 26. I just don't like that number. 24 is fine. 28 is even better, but 26s I don't like. That having been said, this is Rod Kusanen finishing up our video for today. Rod Kusanen, Spooman for Risk.